Great news, a new stimulus bill was just released. It is bipartisan and it offers stimulus checks. In this video, I'll go over the details of this new stimulus bill and who is eligible for these stimulus checks. Before we get started, quick announcement. I just launched my new YouTube channel, Wise Vibes. Today, I have a link in the first video down in the description below. I'd appreciate it if you could give me some feedback on that first video. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a great day so far. Let's get right into it. So Steve Mnuchin just said yesterday, which is the Treasury Secretary, that more stimulus is needed. Don't worry about the deficit. Steve Mnuchin is also a Republican and is actually going against what the other Republicans are saying. More specifically, he said there are clearly areas of the economy that still need support and that fear over adding to the national debt shouldn't prevent Congress from passing another stimulus bill. So he's referring to his fellow Senate Republicans, which have publicly said that they don't want any more stimulus money because they're worried about the deficit, which ironically, the Senate Republicans are getting paid a six-figure salary. They're also getting a taxpayer-funded vacation, maybe like 2 weeks every month. So they're constantly out of office, but yet they don't want any money going to the American people. Meanwhile, they're getting a ton of taxpayer money to fund whatever they're doing, which is barely anything because Congress is just holding everything up. Steve Mnuchin is saying that now is not the time to worry about shrinking the deficit. I agree with Steve Mnuchin with this because why shouldn't we give more money to the American people? We're in a pandemic, we're in a crisis. I can understand maybe under different circumstances we shouldn't give as much money or worry about the deficit, but there are millions, not thousands or hundreds of thousands, but millions of American people who are struggling and suffering on a daily basis. But yet these Senate Republicans publicly are saying that they don't want to give more money to the American people. Steve Mnuchin also says, I will continue to work on this. I've told the Speaker, which is Nancy Pelosi, I'm available anytime to negotiate, no conditions. So this is good news, still open to more stimulus negotiations. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Is this just more talk? Do we need more action? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. So Nancy Pelosi just said yesterday that negotiating directly with President Trump wouldn't be a good use of time. Nancy Pelosi also said, we all want to have an agreement, but it has to be real. What the Senate did was not real. Referring to the Republican skinny proposal, which went nowhere last week, which I don't think a lot of people took seriously. I asked many of you in the comments below if you thought it was actually a real bill or not, or if it would be helpful. Many of you said, even Republicans said, no, it's not a good bill. Barely had anything and didn't even have stimulus checks. So throughout this whole stimulus negotiation process, we've had the blame game of whether it's the Republicans' fault or Democrats' fault, pointing fingers at each other. Basically, rich people talking, poor people suffering, politics as usual. But the good news is that President Trump is still in support of stimulus checks, and a professor from Vanderbilt is saying that as a general rule, credit and blame both accrue to the president regardless of who is responsible. President Trump promised stimulus checks many times. Not only does he want it for the American people, but also it'll severely help his re-election chances. It is probably too late for a new round of stimulus to make much of a difference in the economy. However, an economic boost would help President Trump, which makes it ironic that Democrats are pushing for a package of policies that, according to conventional economics, would help Trump in November, while the Republicans are pushing for economic policies that are less helpful to their own party. So we're at a weird position where President Trump, Steve Mnuchin, the White House, they want stimulus checks, but the Republican Senate does not want stimulus checks, and the Democrats do want stimulus checks, which brings us to this new bipartisan stimulus bill. So it is a $1.5 trillion stimulus bill. Let's get into the details of this. So basically, we have the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is led by New Jersey Democrat Josh Gottheimer and New York Republican Tom Reed. So we have moderate Republicans, moderate Democrats in this problem solvers caucus, 25 Democrats, 25 Republicans, and basically they're working together. In the news and in the media, we mainly hear about the crazy people all the way on the right, the crazy people all the way on the left, because whatever they're saying or doing gets the most attention, it's sensational. But there actually are Republicans and Democrats who work together. The moderate ones are working together on a daily basis. It's not always a head-to-head butt as the media is portraying. So that's what the Problem Solvers Caucus is. It is mixed with Democrats and Republicans, and they just came out with a bill that checks a lot of boxes for the Republicans and Democrats in the Senate and House. So here are the details with the bill. Good news, it has stimulus checks. I'll get into that as well. So it is a $1.523 trillion bill, which is kind of in the middle. So the Democrats wanted $2 trillion, Republicans originally wanted $1 trillion. So meeting at $1.5 trillion, I think is a great place to start. The package, what it has is $100 billion for healthcare programs, $25 billion for coronavirus testing and contact tracing, $500 billion for state and local governments, $145 billion for schools and childcare, $15 billion for the U.S. Postal Service, $290 billion for small businesses, and then $400 billion to help states with the November elections. And as I mentioned before, this does have another round of $1,200 stimulus checks for individuals under the certain income threshold, with $500 per child. And at this time, SSI, SSDI, veterans, all those groups, RRB, are eligible for these stimulus checks, which is great news. It'll make the unemployment benefits up to $450 per week. So let's talk about this bill a little bit. $500 billion for state and local governments. That might be a little hard of a pill for the Republicans to swallow because they originally wanted zero. They might have gone up to $100 billion in negotiations, while the Democrats wanted around $900 billion. So $500 billion is a middle ground. Hopefully that's good enough for the Democrats or for the Republicans. And then when it comes to $450 per week, the Democrats wanted $600 per week for the unemployment benefits, but a lot of the other issues they do agree on, and hopefully those numbers match. The next step from here is that this bill is introduced, and hopefully they could come to an agreement and then pass this. Like, enough talking, enough dilly-dallying, enough with the stalemates. The American people just want action. They want something to pass. And that is all the stimulus news I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. You are awesome. I appreciate your support. You're the best. Also, I just want to quickly talk about my new channel, Wise Vibes. The reason why I created that channel, which is about daily motivation and inspiration, is because I want to put a smile on people's faces when they watch my YouTube videos. I know these stimulus videos, a lot of you say, are very informative and they're helpful. I just don't feel like people leave these videos in a good mood, and for good reason. So that's the reason why I created Wise Vibes, is because I want to have people leave the video feeling empowered, inspired, and happy. So if you check out this video over here, it's my first video on the channel, 5 ways of how you could accomplish anything in life. I would really appreciate it if you could click that video, watch it, let me know what you think about it. Also, if you could subscribe to the Wise Vibes channel, I would appreciate your support on that as well. Once again, thank you so much for watching.